morning. I am Starla. I go by pronouns of she and her. I really always went by Butch and Dyke, but she and her. If you are visiting us for the first time today, you are especially welcome. Vonda at our greeting table in the back there can help you get oriented if you have any questions. If you have little ones, our greeters can show you the way to the nursery, which is available during the service for children ages 6 and younger. Our services are filmed on YouTube. If you want to make sure that you are not on camera, please sit in the perfume section or in the section closest to the back table in the library. Feel free to move during the prelude if you need to. Please silence your cell phones. Our favorite pianist is out today on a well-deserved break. We will instead rely on technology for our hymns needed today, which is a reminder of our gratitude to the gifts that our musicians bring to this community. Our opening hymn is number 298 in your thicker gray hymnal, Wake Now My Senses. Please rise in spirit or body as you are able.
To Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I am Erin. My pronouns are she and her, and I am your service leader for the day. I serve the church as both a member of the music stuff, the band, the music committee, and as the newest member of the religious services committee. If you are with us on the internet, or if you are with us sitting in the chairs around me, we are one community, united in our commitment to each other and our commitment to live out our principles in the world. Our guest speaker today is Shawn Gibson, who will explore the idea of faithfully imagining the kind of world we long to see. Shawn is a candidate for Unitarian Universalist ministry and a second-year Master of Divinity student at Meadville Lombard Theological School in Chicago. He became a Unitarian Universalist in 2018 after joining the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Asheville, where his call to ministry formed through his work in religious education. Shawn had served as a registered facilitator for the Our Whole Lives program for young adults and as a mentor for the Coming of Age program. His ministry is grounded in a desire to journey with others in their search for truth and meaning, especially those navigating the process of deconstructing from harmful or controlling belief systems. Shawn lives near Asheville, North Carolina, with his husband, Corey, and their 4 beloved pets, Pepper, Bella, Albus, and Cookie. Shawn plans to graduate in 2027 and is currently seeking an internship placement. We're going to invite Terry to come help us with our chalice lighting. Terry enjoys crafting and is an animal lover, like so many of us. With humility and courage, born of our history, we are called as Unitarian Universalists to build the beloved community where all souls are welcome as blessings and the human family lives whole and reconciled. With this vision in our hearts and minds, we light our chalice. Ours is not a perfect community. We are wonderful and messy, a work in progress that earnestly tries hard to get it right. On behalf of this congregation, if you are here for the first time seeking a spiritual home or a safe space of inquiry and acceptance, I welcome you. To the familiar faces I've come to know well, I welcome you. And all of our beautiful diversity of experience, education, stage on our journey, origin, sexuality, age, and gender, I welcome you. I value who you are and what you bring. Can a tree in a forest have a story to tell us? Our guest, Shawn, will answer that question with the book, One Day This Tree Will Fall, by Leslie Bernard Booth.
Good morning, everybody. It's really great to be here with you all, and just thankful to share this time with you together. Our wisdom story this morning is one that I was introduced to by a friend of mine at school. This is called One Day This Tree Will Fall by Leslie Bernard Booth. Look at it. Wounded and worn, twisted and torn, one day this tree will fall. And the story will end. Won't it? First, you should know that long, long ago, a tiny seed set sail. Folded inside of it was a tiny tree. This tree. And other seeds flew too. Some landed on bare rock or drowned in a stream. Most were simply gobbled up. This tree's story might have ended that day. But it didn't. This tree grew and grew. Despite the wind, despite the ice, despite drought. Then a spark. Something crackled in the dark. Something wild. Something ravenous, something made entirely of flame. This tree story might have ended that day, but it didn't. This tree drank deeply. It sealed itself and healed itself as well as it could. And meanwhile, the creatures of the forest, they nibbled, they clipped, and they clawed. And humans, well, the humans, they hauled giants away, but not this one. This tree survived. This tree touched the sky, and by now it was so much more than a plant. It had become a place. It was a world of miniature forests, meadows, rivers, seas, of silken death traps and venomous fangs, of bright begging mouths and fluttering wings. This tree aged. Some of its wounds never closed. Some opened. Some grew. But no crack or crevice ever went to waste. Because this tree continued to be a root, a nest, a den. And then its last trace of green growth faded. This tree's story might have ended that day, but it didn't. And it won't, ever. Yes, one day this tree will fall. Crack! Can you say crack? See, it came late in the story. A crack that rocked the forest. But even when this tree is just a log, it will still be a place where moss gathers, Mushrooms bloom and rain erodes and mold consumes. Where a secret city brims with workers, soldiers, queens, where salamanders guard their eggs and cougars crouch unseen. Where winter casts a sleeping spell and then releases it in the spring. Where snakes slither and slime spreads, where earwigs and earthworms whittle and shred, whittle and shred, whittle and shred. The perfect place for the next seed to settle and to sprout and to grow. Thank you.
I don't know about you guys, but I think that tree might be back there somewhere. I invite you to relax your body into your seat. Take several deep breaths. Roll your shoulders. Another deep breath. Close your eyes if you're comfortable as I share the words of Richard S. Gilbert. Life is always unfinished business. In the midst of the whirling day, in the hectic rush to be doing, in the frantic pace of life, pause here for a moment. Catch your breath. Relax your body. Loosen your grip on life. Consider that our lives are always unfinished business. Imagine that the picture of our being is never complete, and allow your life to be a work in progress. Do not hurry to mold the masterpiece. Do not rush to finish the picture. Do not be impatient to complete the drawing. From beckoning birth to dawning death, we are in process, and always there is more to be done. Do not let the incompleteness weigh on your spirit. Do not despair that imperfection marks your everyday, and do not fear that we are still in the making. Let us instead be grateful that the world is still to be created. Let us give thanks that we can be more than we are. Let us celebrate the power of the incomplete, for life is always unfinished business. Come to this community with all that you are. Your joys and your concerns are welcome here. We share our moments of joys and sorrows with us through using these candle cards, if you're with us in person, or by emailing Reverend Tiffany at minister@hvuuc.org with the words candle card in the subject line. Please make sure to indicate whether or not you would like the card to be read aloud in the service, which is being broadcast publicly on YouTube. First, we have a card of gratitude. A big thank you to the members of HVUUC from the Social Justice Committee. You donated $637 to the Johnson City Recovery Center on March 30th. It will be put to great use, and it is very much appreciated. From Alessia, who I don't see this morning, after years of research and reservation, Alessia has started hormone therapy and will begin trying to navigate life as a woman. So far, she feels much better, having her femininity affirmed and enhanced. We offer a hearty congratulations to all who have graduated. Any level of learning, high school, technical program, nursing, or college, we celebrate your achievements with you. We've got two more here. One from Bob. we've got a candle of joy. Joy that after 6 months of planning and with the help of Judy in the garden and Stephen in facilities, our peace pole was installed representing languages from every continent as well as indigenous Cherokee, and it is gorgeous. And another candle of joy. Thanks to Justin, our DRE, for organizing an international flag prayer ceremony around our new peace pole before the Mother's Day service. If you wish to light your own silent candle, approach the side of the table that is closest to you, and the closer candle keeper will assist you. Please light the candles at the back of the table first so that no one has to reach over an open flame. And if you wish for us to light a candle for you, please raise your hand until I acknowledge you, and I will ensure a candle is lit for your intention. Come on up. Once we start to act, hope is everywhere. Greta Thunberg. Reflecting on this concept are the words of Reverend Shawn Parker Dennison. We got it wrong. Always looking first for hope, for motivation, inspiration. Only the desperate, bearing witness to the beginning of the end, can find a new way of being. a way to live within the magnitude of loss and the certainty of destruction. And by so doing, they bring the next world into being, the one that survives, despite resurrection being impossible and so many of our habits irredeemable from here on. Only by ignoring the obvious outcomes can we become ready for what is so rare we can only call it a miracle. Hope is an obstacle, a barrier that keeps us from needing the new enough to become it. Hope obscures the truth we need if we are going to embrace the extinction of excess, understand the necessity that nothing will ever be the same. Nothing of this world can remain. The hope we need is on the other side of all we believe to be true. Hope broken out of cages and prisons and carbon sequestration. Hope that has broken our rib cages and sternums in order to get us free. Hope that will always risk dying in order to survive. Once we act, hope is everywhere.
So it is a strange but familiar pattern, one that seems to surface every election season or in times of global uncertainty. People begin to wonder, to worry, is this the beginning of the end? Suddenly conversations turn apocalyptic. The news feels heavier. Social media brims with predictions of economic collapse, environmental catastrophes, global conflict, and food shortages. And in the background, sometimes you hear the whispers and sometimes it's loudly shouted on street corners. Scary words revived, like the Antichrist, Revelations, or the rapture. Others hold a more realistic vision of a shrinking polar ice cap or a rogue meteor causing mass extinction events. Regardless, the uncertainty created by these visions leads some to consider their future in terms of scarcity, taking on a stockpile mentality where survival means everything. Many more can't wait to be whisked away to a perfect paradise to be sheltered from the wrath to come. Whether rational or not, these visions shape our cultural myths and even our lived reality. I grew up in a world where these prophecies, these predictions about the end of time were as tangible and as real as anything else I could see or touch. As a child, my nightmares were mostly about the afterlife and what would happen if I wasn't prepared for the end. In my teens, I read the popular Left Behind series by Tim LaHaye and Jerry B. Jenkins about the rapture and the 7-year period of tribulation where Christians are persecuted by their faith by a fascist, satanic government taken over by a man who is the literal embodiment of the devil himself. Kind of sounds familiar, right? When most people think of prophecy, they picture wild and unholy visions, grim predictions of inevitable doom. Prophecy is often reduced to foretelling the future, a warning of what will happen, no matter what. In another favorite of teenage book series of mine, a prophecy suggests that Harry Potter is the only one who can defeat the Dark Lord Voldemort. But fans later wondered, was the prophecy really about Harry, or could it have been about his awkward friend Neville Longbottom? This confusion about who a prophecy is for and how it unfolds echoes the ambiguity in biblical prophecy too. And that's where I want to turn for a moment. In the Hebrew Scriptures, prophets seem to rise from nowhere as fantastic doomsayers, bearing messages of divine judgment and warning against injustice, especially if it was mistreatment of the poor and the marginalized, or if the people had abandoned God's way. Now, after studying the Hebrew Scriptures more deeply, I've come to understand prophecy not to be as predictions of doom. Instead, I've come to understand prophecy as a call to awareness and accountability. It is a reminder of who we are and what we hold most sacred. It is this kind of prophecy, not the fantastical or fatalistic kind, but the urgent moral kind that I want us to explore more deeply today. It makes sense that in times of uncertainty or moral crisis, we humans wish we had clear solutions to life's biggest problems. But that kind of certainty isn't what the biblical prophets in the Hebrew Scriptures usually offer. Their stories are less about predicting the future and more about announcing a breakdown in the often complicated relationship between God and the people of Israel. The early Jewish ancestors relied on God for blessing and protection, and in return they sought to remain faithful by following God's laws and practicing kindness and justice. And throughout Hebrew Scripture, this relationship plays out in very human terms. Sometimes things are good. The land is flourishing and the people are in sync with God. But other times, the relationship breaks down because the people have strayed from their covenant. That's usually when God would send a prophet. Each prophet had a different message, but the reason was usually the same. The people had lost their way and were no longer living according to the covenants that they had made with each other. It was the prophet's job to warn the people of the impending consequences of violating the covenant and to encourage people to make amends for their actions. So rather than being fortune tellers or simple predictors of doom, the biblical prophets were truth tellers. And their role wasn't just to warn, but to invite the people back into alignment with their deepest commitments. Now, the prophets didn't always do their work in calm or quiet ways. More often, they were seen as wild-eyed outsiders or raving lunatics shouting about the sky falling. Their words were sharp, their tone urgent, and their message deeply unsettling. They spoke of catastrophe, not as a random act of destruction, but as consequence for a people who had turned away from justice. They condemned rulers who grew rich while the poor starved. They warned of divine anger stirred by corruption, violence, and indifference. The prophets didn't just predict punishment. They held up a mirror to society, exposing their deepest injustices. They were the conscience of the people, relentless, uncomfortable, and necessary. Most of them didn't ask for this role. Some tried to run from it, and others were threatened or imprisoned or cast out for daring to speak the truth. So prophets were rarely welcomed. They were tolerated at best, but more often despised. Now, when I began preparing for this sermon last month, like the month before that, I had been trying desperately to lay down my phone. Since the beginning of this year and the return of a second Trump presidency, I felt that familiar dread rising again. Just like before, I feared I'd be glued to my screen multiple times every hour, worrying that the sky might literally be falling today. I can't tell you what had happened exactly in that moment. I can't even tell you what had just happened that hour, because as with most news cycles lately, the headlines just keep coming. It's hard to finish reading one headline story now without more breaking news coming in from Aaron Parnas, right? I mean, you know. Sometimes it feels like I've got my own personal pocket prophet to let me know that for the 666th time today, someone said something stupid, or that now government corruption has been leaked on TikTok or Snapchat, or another plane has fallen from the sky, that more people have been kidnapped from this country. And only God knows where they've gone. I don't know when they're coming back, or who's going to get them, or what's even for dinner. As someone who cares deeply about this world, I sometimes find myself crying out, how long, oh God, will we be left in the hands of incompetent and impotent men? And then I feel guilty Because I know what I believe. I believe in the worth and dignity of all people. I believe in centering love and in working towards justice. I am working towards building a beloved community where everyone belongs. So how do we hold all of that alongside the rage, the fear, and the despair that we feel right now? Is this who I'm supposed to be? Overreactive and anxious, and maybe it's not all that bad, but maybe I should just let it all burn. Friends, I'm coming to understand these deep, conflicting feelings as signs of something holy. I feel this way because I love deeply, because I care, because I long for justice. Much like the prophets of old, myself and many others are angry and afraid because we're watching injustice ascend rapidly in our country. We are grieving what has been lost, and it's only right that we do so. Can't begin to find a new way without grieving what has been lost. We are terrified about what may come next. We wonder, will anything we do be enough? At one of the first protests I attended this year in Asheville, after a speaker had finished, the rally MC tried to close with energy and conviction. It was something along the lines of, who are we? Americans. The crowd shouted, what do we want? Justice. And they said, how are we going to get there? And there was silence. A long pause. And then nervous, uncertain, awkward laughter. Because the truth is, most of us don't know. We know we're in crisis. We know what we want. But just exactly how are we going to get there? I, for one, wish I had a few more answers to life's questions or problems, but I wish I at least knew how to keep up with the dishes and the laundry at the same time. Plenty of people claim to know the problem, the solution, the outcome, and they back it up with their understanding of God, the Bible, or the very nature of reality. But that doesn't work for me. I can't settle for prepackaged answers to the cause or abolishment of unjust problems that really shouldn't exist in the first place. I need more than it's all part of a grand design that ends in doom for someone, somewhere, eventually. The Universalist faith I preach does not give up. It doesn't go home until everyone is found and brought inside the circle of love. And so when life feels uncertain, we're tempted to return, often with desperate nostalgia, to a time before the crisis began, when things felt grand and glorious. But depending on who holds power, that so-called golden age often excludes far too many. The definition of crisis and the solution were meant to seek depending entirely on who is telling the story. And I, for one, believe we must resist the pull to reach for old solutions to new problems. This, friends, is where I find hope. That Unitarian Universalism is and can be a prophetic faith, one that carries forth a new, wild, and holy vision of what a pluralistic, loving world might look like. In wrapping up, I want to share this example. While I officially, as you heard, became a Unitarian Universalist in 2018 when I joined as a member of the Congregation of Asheville, my encounter with this faith, my first encounter with this faith, was right here. Not on a Sunday morning, but through an event hosted by the Cups chapter. Now, at that time, I was a practicing Wiccan, studying for the priesthood with a small local group of witches, pagans, and druids. One day our priestess told us that we had been invited to participate in an interfaith Thanksgiving service at a local church. And my eyes widened. They want witches at church? I had never encountered a UU by then. It's funny. She explained that the service was about gathering people of different faiths to share a meal and offer worship from our various traditions. So I put on my best witchy wear. I made my way here, unsure of what to expect. But when I arrived, I found not just witches and pagans. I also found Buddhists. I found a Jewish rabbi, Methodists, Lutherans, and maybe even a Catholic or two. It was also the first time I had ever met a female minister in person wearing a collar. That, of course, was the Reverend Jacqueline Luck. It was the first of several interfaith Thanksgiving services I attended here, and those memories remain precious to me. And now I stand here nearly 15 years later on my own journey, one that I never anticipated. Certainly not when I first entered the building, whether I'd be welcome or whether someone might think I'd burst into flames just for walking through the door. And to be honest, this is funny, the last time I was in this sanctuary, it was at another Cups event, and I was probably right there, laid out on the floor, meditating to Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. Friends, that's what it means to be prophetic. To announce and create a vision that seems wildly and wholly unlikely. In this place, together, we created a prototype of a world where all people, regardless of how they identify, can come together to give thanks for the beauty of life, to break bread and honor those things which make us human, and to craft a little magic by bringing everyone together at a table big enough to share our stories, to share our wild and holy visions of a world filled with grace and gratitude. Maybe our impending devastation can be avoided if we're willing to sit with one another in what I think Dr. Martin Luther King might have said, to dream together, to imagine new, holy, and fierce visions of a love that rights the wrongs, that heals the broken and comforts the downtrodden. Yes, we have a reason to despair. We have a reason to be angry at the injustice and the inequity of our time. But we do not have the luxury of staying there. If we let ourselves get stuck in despair or tangled in the fear of, will they like me? Will we have anything in common? Or will it all just end in more division and violence? We may miss the sacred possibilities right in front of us each and every day. That kind of healing is possible. The beloved community is still within reach. Love can still have the last word. It is in this spirit of transformation that I hope that you all find yourselves in this journey in the days we have together. And I pray that this place becomes a place that gives you the strength to go on for the days that you need it. May it be so.
The word woyaya comes from the Ghana language, and it means we are going. This song brings hope in times of not knowing where we are going, nor how we will get there. But we have faith that we will reach our goal so long as we have hope and work toward justice for everyone. You are welcome to sing along from the comfort of your seats. We thank you for being with us today. The June Women's Night will be postponed until July 11th. We thank Dana for the gift of these magnificent flowers. They're really gorgeous today. This Wednesday is our last Wednesday night supper until fall. We hope many will join us for this time of fellowship. The sign-up deadline is today, and you can sign up on the sheet in the back room. Ask any regular to show you. Or you can write to WNS, as in Wednesday Night Supper, at hvuuc.org by the end of today. Your cooks also welcome any spontaneous help cleaning up after the meal. And if you had a mother like mine, you know that's what you do if you eat. You can learn more about the many opportunities for fellowship, justice work, and working together by visiting our website, hvuuc.org, and checking out our news and events section. Our closing hymn is number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Our last hymn is Love Will Guide Us, and I just enjoyed what you shared so much. Because, I believe in my heart that love is going to win this mess. And it took a lot. It just had to take a lot of suffering before it could happen. And if we find the ways to love others, and love ourselves. We cannot love others until we love ourselves. So, the thing is, I was on a journey of self-love before all this mess started, and I didn't want to be a warrior, but it's kind of, and I had heard about the rapture and all that stuff as a kid. I used to run down to the pulpit, scared to death that I was going to burn in hell. That's child abuse. This is also the time that we pass the offering plate. Sorry for you guys that stood up, because this just is the first time this happened for a person to come up at this time. So you can still stand if you want. And this is also when we pass the offering plate. The contributions that you make during the offering supports the way that we build each other up within this community. And we also give up the resources we need to stretch out into the wilder world to make a positive impact, and we do. If you're making a pledge payment, please mark it as such, and thank you so much for your contributions. Now, the rest that want to and are able can rise with us, and we will sing out of the green, thin hymnal. I think it's green. Love Will Guide Us, number 131.
Glad to have been with you this morning, and I wish you all peace. Go in the spirit of transformation, kindled once again by the spirit of love, renewed for the days ahead. Blessed be.